Good morning, men and women of Christ. Glad to be back with you with part 2 of this spirit-led teaching. The purpose of Christ will expose the plans of Antichrist, and we'll get right into it. The purpose of Christ will expose the plans of Antichrist, because the plans of Antichrist is to use the letter to unlawfully blind you to the light. Is to use the letter to unlawfully blind you to the light. What is founded on the letter? Church. In all churches, religion. What is founded on the light? What is founded on the light? The Spirit. The Spirit. The foundation of your spirit is the gospel. But pre-gospel, the foundation of your flesh was the letter. This is what church is founded upon, the flesh. But your spirit, the foundation of your spirit, in the dispensation of the Spirit, which is the gospel, is Christ. Is Christ. Isaiah 54:17 says that no weapon formed against you can prosper. Darkness cannot prosper against light, but light will expose and destroy the plans of darkness. You can only prosper in the light, because prosperity takes you beyond the flesh. Everything in the flesh is a byproduct of prosperity, but nothing in the flesh is prosperity. All right, financial and material gain, that's a byproduct of prosperity, but financial and material gain is not prosperity. It doesn't mean it's not important. It just means it's less important, because what does it profit a man to gain the world and lose his soul? What does it profit to gain the world, and in the process of gaining the world and everything in it, you lose your soul? What are you going to offer Christ in exchange for your soul? Okay, this is simply what it means. So everything in the flesh is a byproduct of the Spirit. Provision is a byproduct of prosperity, but provision is not prosperity. It's a byproduct of manhood and womanhood, but it does not define manhood and womanhood. Okay? Your worth goes far beyond corruption. Your true worth, which was in Christ, goes far beyond the corruptible things that we can obtain in this world. Okay. And corruption can look very appealing. Corruption can be very attractive when your spiritual eyes are not open, when you don't have eyes to see, to discern between uncorruption and corruption. Okay, no weapon formed against us can prosper. In order for darkness to overtake your light, you're not in the true light. You're not in the true light. No weapon formed against you can prosper. Let us go to Matthew 7:21 through 23. If you are in the purpose of Christ, then the plans of Antichrist cannot prosper against you. He cannot be successful where the light is manifesting through you and the letter is not the light. Because if you are using the letter as faith and Satan unlawfully uses the letter, he already got you in his clutches. You got to go from the letter to the light. You got to go from the letter to the light, because the letter was for creation, for a fallen creation. Satan is a fallen creation. So he can use the letter just like we can, except he uses it unlawfully. Let us go to Matthew 7:21 through 23. Matthew 7:21 through 23. "21 says, Not everyone that says unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that does the will of my Father which is in heaven." You see, the will of God is his plan. That was the letter. And the will of God, which was to point you to his purpose, which is the light. It pointed us to purpose, but it couldn't reveal purpose. All right. 22, many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name? And in your name have cast out devils, and in your name done many wonderful works. Remember, they were doing all this in his name. And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you workers of iniquity. Why? He doesn't know sin. They were in sin the whole time. They were in sin. They were seeing false prosperity under the name of Christ. They were seeing false healings under the name of Christ. They were seeing false prophecies come to pass in the name of Christ. All these things they were seeing under the name of Christ, but they were never in the person Christ. They were never in the person Christ. They were never in purpose. So Satan's plan did progress against them, because he said to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you workers of iniquity. So Satan's plan was successful against them. The enemy has a plan, and he is very religious. He used the Bible very religiously and to make it appear spiritual, which the Bible is not spiritual. The written word that we see by sight, which is the Bible, was designed to point us to faith. It was designed to point us to faith, not to be a substitute for faith. The Bible tells us, it showed us God's plan of salvation, which is Christ, because the Bible pointed us to Christ. But in Christ is salvation, because Christ is salvation and the purpose for it. When we were in the letter, we were walking by sight. When we're in the light, we walk by faith. When you walking by sight, it's not Christ through you, but you. That's the letter. But when you're in faith, it's not you, but Christ through you. That's the light. You go from information to the mind of the Spirit, which is revelation, because through you is manifesting mysteries. It's an eternal knowledge that is not of this world, and it cannot be found in the flesh, nor in the things of the flesh. These mysteries come through your spirit to the soul and the body by the fruit of Christ's Spirit. It is the mind of God being revealed through you. We go to 24, 25, 26, and 27. I hadn't planned on going that far, but I'm going to keep going. Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine, 26, and doeth them not, I will liken him unto a wise man which built his house upon the rock. We have to rightly divide the written word according to the light. When you heard the sayings of Jesus by sight, he said, if you build on it, you're building on the rock. Not that the letter was the rock, but the letter was pointing you to the rock. It was a shadow and type of it. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon the rock. Now the rock is spiritual. Everything in the letter was a shadow and type of what was to come in the spirit. 26, and every one that heareth these things of mine, and doeth them not, shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house upon the sand. And the rains descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. Great was the fall of it. So being in the dispensation of the gospel, we are truly founded upon the rock, because the gospel is the foundation of our spirit, because our spirit is saved by the gospel. And through transformation of the mind of our spirit back to the image of Christ, Christ himself comes to the soul and the body by the fruit of the Spirit. He comes to the soul and the body by the fruit of the Spirit. Now, you're on the rock. Now, anything outside of that, you're on the letter. That's the saying. You see, the letter has to be taught by the light. The letter has to be taught by the light. Because in this dispensation, when the letter was the foundation of the flesh, it was a shadow and type of the rock. Now in the dispensation of the Spirit, you're on the true rock, which is the living word, not the written word. The living word, not the written word. Now outside of the living word, you're building on the same, which is the written word. You're outside of the grace of God and you're under law, because the letter was given to us under the law by sight, while being dead to grace by faith. Being dead to faith, and if we were dead to grace, we were dead to faith. Because only by the grace of God do you receive the faith of God, which is salvation. Salvation of God is the Spirit of God, which is the mind of God himself, which we were created in the image of for fellowship with him. For fellowship with him. We were created in the image of life for fellowship with life. Matthew 5:16 says, to let your light shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Now, this is not just limited to men. This is men and women. Let your light shine before men and women, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. All right. Now, the good works are light. Light is the mind of God. The mind of God is the mystery of faith that is manifested through us into this world. Ephesians 3:10. Now unto the principalities and powers in the heavenly places might be known by the church the manifold wisdom of God. The manifold wisdom of God is the mind of God. The manifold wisdom of God. We talking about grace. Every aspect of our spirit being transformed. Every aspect of us being transformed in the spirit, and every aspect of the flesh coming under the eternal government of the Spirit. Because we're going to another mindset, a superior mindset. We know things in Christ that they don't know outside of Christ because they're incomplete. They're incomplete lovers. They're in everything, they're incomplete. Only once you're back in Christ, or do you become complete once again. You're complete in everything because you're operating in a knowledge that is beyond what the fallen man and woman, which sin has them subject to the flesh, is limited to. They're limited to the natural nature. We are experiencing a life based on the knowledge of Christ beyond the natural nature. We're in the eternal nature. We're experiencing things as God through Christ designed us to be able to experience it. Okay? As God through Christ designed us to experience it. The manifold wisdom of God is the manifold wisdom of salvation, which is crucial for us to know. Because every day you're outside of salvation and the manifold wisdom of it, you're being robbed. And this brings us to a conclusion of part 2 of this teaching. Be back with you in part 3. Love you with the love of Christ.